Natural environment to me would be anything of the natural world. And I think the only real difference would be that to an artificial environment, which would be in a laboratory, very much created from scratch by a person.
I guess I'll put it in the context of myself, like how I feel natural. So like I guess you could say like the earth is my natural environment, but also just like your immediate habitat, like home is my natural environment. School could be, but like, yeah, not somewhere where I don't feel like comfortable, I guess.
Natural environment would, I believe, is an environment that isn't influenced by people. So all living organisms and non-living organisms on that, in that environment are naturally occurring.
Something, a place that hasn't been changed or altered by an outside source, like human involvement, for instance.
I guess it's just the environment we live in or what we're used to, and that's natural to us. Like, for example, just when the grass is green, I guess that's natural to us. If it was a different color, then that wouldn't be natural. And just not how we're used to in like normal species and stuff.
I think anything that humans don't interfere in, so when you walk outside and all that you observe just by like not touching, not like forcefully interfering, and whatever you see, whether it's like the trees, how they are, how the animals are moving, bugs are living, like whatever you just observe, take note, that's natural environment. And anything that we start testing ourselves like with our own like knowledge, then that's not natural anymore. That's like human interference.
It would be, I don't want to say natural things, but often people go with not man-made stuff that you would find in the environment if humans weren't present. And typically things like plastic wouldn't be natural, but if you would find trees and wood and I guess material that was once or is living would constitute natural.
So do you think like GMOs are natural and other things, plastics and other things that humans make are natural?
I don't think it's natural because not totally natural because plastic takes lots of time to decompose, right? Yeah, and it's kind of stuck there and will not go back to the cycle. Yeah, I don't think it's natural.
I feel like GMOs are natural.
My personal opinion is that GMOs are totally fine, and that like DNA is DNA basically. It's not like you're introducing like all these harmful things. I just think you're making something the best it could be, I guess. And DNA is DNA, so it would be natural, in my opinion.
I would say a natural environment is something completely opposite of like what we've turned everything into. I think a natural environment is everything before like us as humans come in and we start to like put our own effects, or we start selecting for certain things, and we don't just let things live as they're supposed to be.
Well, I'm not sure it even exists anymore. I mean, a natural environment, in my eyes, should be something that's never been impacted by humans or visited by humans. So I'm not sure. The narrowest sense, I think that's what I would call natural environment.
I think it's just mostly whatever we're used to seeing and what we're surrounded by.
Yeah.
We find that pretty normal and natural. We don't even think about it like it's not normal. Unless something completely random happens, then we think of that as not natural.
I think as long as the things that can go back to the circle, the cycle, it can turn back to what it makes of and become something else.
I mean, yeah, I would say man is a part of nature. We're a part of the animal kingdom, and we are a species like every other.
I think so if we consider man as mammals and humans as mammals. They definitely have a very big impact, but that's not to say our impact isn't any different on a scale than, say, termites in the savannah, where they create these huge termite mounds that are like enormous and definitely have an impact on the environment.
Man, as a general concept, would be part of nature, but I believe like things that we build,
like structures and stuff aren't naturally occurring?
Yes, because well, we're alive, so we have to be part of the animal kingdom somehow. We're nature, we're part of nature in that sense. But also, like I feel like our brain and our abilities have led us to, I guess, alter the balance of nature into our favor greatly. So yes, we're a part of nature, but what we're capable of kind of shifts what nature would have been if we had not been this smart, I guess.
We use things from nature, like food and resource. So I think it's part of the nature.
Yeah, I think man is part of nature. So I guess that leads to the next part, that there should be that separation.
Yes and no. I would say that mankind can do so much for nature. I think that we have, and I think that we can kind of help some species along that maybe would have gone naturally into extinction or something. But I also think that we push species the way they don't want to be pushed, and that kind of destroys like their whole essence of why they are that species.
They'll kind of like segregate what we make and what another organism might make, and say that what stuff that we create, maybe homes and buildings, aren't natural, though like materials and an environment that another species would make would constitute natural.
After we die and our body goes back to nature and become nutrients again.
It's definitely still natural in terms of part of nature. And nature, even if you don't want to consider the human impact natural, the response by nature will be.
I think mankind is responsible because we have the ability to decipher what's right and wrong, unlike other organisms. So I think we are not necessarily required, but since we were given these abilities or evolved in these abilities, I think it is our responsibility to fight against global warming in any way we possibly can. I do still believe it's natural, even though we are, in a way, trying to control it.
I believe that we're responsible for taking responsibility for whatever that we cause in the environment. We should prevent stuff that would be negatively affecting the earth. If we're manipulating the balances for our benefit to maintain the environment, I don't believe it's still natural, but it's not bad to not be natural.
It's sort of difficult to think of our world changing without people having a hand in making that change, whether it's an accidental thing or an inadvertent thing. If we're referring to, say, global warming, that's not exactly what we as humans intended to do, but things are happening the way they are right now, due in part to the things that we've done in the past, or the way that we keep things running as a society.
I don't think we have a responsibility to maintain, because the world is in constant flux and there is a change for evolution, but I think we do have a responsibility to make sure our impact isn't, by sheer magnitude, unresponsive by the environment. Like, if nature can't respond in a natural way, then we're really overstepping our bounds, and I think being irresponsible and not ensuring that, like, evolution, for example, can take time and happen.
To a certain degree, we are, because this is the world we live in. So we should take some sort of responsibility to keep it the way it's, I guess, meant to be, like how it's been existing since the dawn of time. And so, like, species, we should maintain species diversity, and we should avoid hunting that cause extinction. So in that case, yeah, we should have a purpose, but then also there's a line of we need to be beneficial to ourselves also, and if that means exploiting some of how the nature works and natural resources, there's a fine line. So I feel like, yes, to a certain extent we should be, but we should also consider our I guess, requirements as humans, and if that means kind of exploiting a little bit of nature, then I guess that's okay too.
I would probably say that like a good balance would probably be like us making sure that anything we do is not going against like species' natural flow, I guess you could say, in a way that would change like the characteristics of who they are, because I think we like change species so much for like our purposes that there aren't the same species as they were before. So I think there's like a balance, but I think we don't usually find that balance.
Well, I mean, I think we have a responsibility to have the lowest effect possible on the environment. Am I saying we should go back to horse-drawn carriages and lanterns in our houses? And no, I don't. That's not practical. But I think given the constraints of how we want and need to function in this world we have, I think we need to have the least impact that we can. We need to recycle stuff. We need to utilize as little electricity as possible. Utilize as little water as we can.
I think it's also not just if something is, say, happening not because of an anthropogenic change. I think it's the degree to which that is occurring that needs to be controlled. Because I think, for me, it comes down to, as an evolutionary biologist, I think evolutionary time is the most significant factor. If this is something that nature, from a natural world, everything, say, but humans, can evolve against, or some things may not, it's still survival of the most fit for that environment. But the question is, are we as people changing this environment so that nothing can fit anymore? And I think that's where we need to intervene and step in and say, no, we don't want to live in a world where nothing but humans fit.
Because we can't control what was here before we were here, so all we can do is, through research, figure out how stuff was before and how it's evolved now by nature doing its course, and then however nature has evolved into what is now by itself without hearing, it's like the world working in itself, and we get certain kind of species, certain kind of trees, certain kind of, like dinosaurs are gone now, that wasn't our fault, that's just kind of how it happened, and there are more examples like that, and that leads to where we are currently. However that is, we should try to maintain it to the best of our abilities, meaning if, again, examples of hunting, for example, if we see a species that's endangered and we have the power to stop it and not go and shoot arrows into things that would have their own population dynamics by themselves in nature, we should make laws and stuff to avoid that.
It is in our nature as humans, as well as any part of life, to exist. And I think that it should be part of our responsibility to fix things.
I think it's more philosophical. Okay. It's kind of your outlook on the environment, what people should or shouldn't do.
I can definitely see it being a question of morality and human responsibility to the earth, especially if you want to throw some sort of religious overtones on it, that many Judeo-Christian religions strongly believe the earth has been given to us and we need to oversee and maintain that. So I can see it being taken a very philosophical way, and the response there being much stronger of an impact to control the world.
I would say they're more philosophical.
I'd say philosophical. We haven't really talked about very specific things.
I think it's more philosophical and personal. It's all my opinions, and yeah.
I think it's philosophical.
I'd say more philosophical.
I would say they're more philosophical. I would say that they're more philosophical, but I feel like philosophy and science, you can't have one without the other. So I think that you kind of need the science to back up the thoughts, and you need the thoughts to kind of to open up new opportunities in science.
Absolutely. It should be a conversation that's happening whether in an academic situation or in a mentoring situation. in your family environment?
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about what we have done and like what is natural. The questions that I will not think about it normally, and it brings my attention to it and make me think what is right for me and what is not right for me.
These are important conversations because we mentioned there are examples in certain parts of the world some things are being heavily manipulated or heavily controlled or heavily impacted in other parts of the world. And those impacts can be both for maintaining natural systems and for creating an unnatural system, like a very developed urban landscape versus a let's preserve this rare type of forest area.
Yeah, I think so. I like this conversation a lot.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's not just one-sided, you have to think about science and philosophy together.
Exactly.
And one can't exist without the other, really, at least in like analyzing the questions even.
The environmentalists and the farmers and like the animal researchers, like everyone doesn't work together because like in the end we're trying to like feed this growing population, and people are just like, oh, the environmentalists, like, oh, we hate those animal farmers because they destroy our environment. Or it's like both the directions, and like we should all be working together, not like against each other. And I think if we bring like the people who are more philosophical and can like give us new ideas that we're not even considering, or like different things, we can work together and like actually provide like growth for like our species and more comfortable environments and like more food. And yeah,
it just presents ideas in which like situations where people might have not thought about it in that way before, so that it brings that thought up in mind, and then it may be able to change a person's opinion on what could or shouldn't be done.
I think it's important that people realize not everything that we do has a positive impact on the environment, and to focus on the ways that we can change our behaviors, or the ways that we can shift some of the behaviors that we do, or shift some of the things that we believe are important or convenient to our way of life into something that's a little bit more hospitable for the world.
I made this video to gain a better understanding of humans' perceptions of their relationship to their environment. Is there a perceived separation between humans and nature? And do those perceptions have implications for subsequent environmental values, attitudes, and behavior? While many of the students I interviewed believed they themselves are in fact a part of nature, they largely described a natural environment as one that was absent of human interference. Gaining an understanding of this apparent contradiction may lead to a better awareness of the importance of people's perceptions of themselves and nature, and how that perception relates to management and policy.